Hey, welcome back everyone for some new programming tutorials, and sorry for being gone for so long. I'm completely settled in now, so I think I'm completely back for these tutorials. So today I'll be covering Node.js programming, and if you're very interested in this, please stay tuned because this will be a series of Node.js programming tutorials that's going to cover the databases, the frameworks, and you should be pretty well with this programming language at the end. So you know what, let's just get right into this thing. Let's start right here by going to the Node website right here, nodejs.org. And the first thing we want to do is to install Node. Now I am running a Mac OS system, and when I go here it's going to recommend one of these downloads. I'm going to download the current one, 15.2.0. And there are two different ways to install Node on your system. I can either download this and install it, or I can use a package manager system like Homebrew. Homebrew is a great package manager where it can install multiple different programming languages and it can keep those programming languages updated. So I really suggest installing Homebrew if you can and learning more about it. So for me, I did install Homebrew. All you have to do is click on this copy icon right here and then go up to your terminal in the spotlight, type in terminal, and then you can paste in that and install it. So I've already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that. Another way to install it is to go to the terminal inside of VS Code right here and paste it into the terminal itself just like that. In this tutorial, I am going to use Visual Studio Code. So if you haven't installed that yet, I really suggest installing Visual Studio Code. It is a great software to use for programming any language. And also going forward, I am going to use the terminal inside of Visual Studio Code because that's what's great about it. Everything is already in one package right here. If you do have Homebrew installed, I really suggest running this command before going forward. I suggest you update your brew. So do brew update and then also brew upgrade. So brew update will update the Homebrew software itself, and brew upgrade will upgrade any programming language that you have installed using Homebrew, such as Node. So if Node is available in there with a new version, it will update it. But after you've updated, you still want to check your version of Node. So I will do node-v, and it shows me right here I have the latest version 15.2.0. You also want to check out your npm, so do npm-v. And npm is installed when you install Node. And we're going to be using npm a lot as well. So make sure that is up to date. I will leave down in the description a couple of information about Homebrew if you're running into errors, and I will leave some commands on what to do on those situations. So go ahead and check that out if you're having problems with Homebrew. Alright, so let's get into a project right here. I created a folder called Sandbox for myself, but you can create a folder called Project if you like. And inside this folder, I'm going to create another folder called Node HTTP app. And this is our first Node HTTP server test app. And then what I'm going to do is click on this folder and I'm going to drag this into my VS Code right now. And that way it will start me inside of my folder to do work on. So let me take that out. And then let me open up my terminal again, Control tilde. And then in here I want to type npm init-y. So this is going to start up our Node project. And I'll show you in a minute why I'm doing -y here. Press enter on that. And you see it created a initial Node package for me right here, package.json. And inside of here, it has some information. Here's the important information you need to know. Now this is why I typed -y. It's so that it can skip asking me for all of this information and I would have to manually press enter or enter them in because I want it to auto-generate this for me. It's a lot faster if I do this. And then I can always just go back into this package and change anything I want. So right here is the important information. Main is pointing to index.js. So we haven't created this file yet. So let me create that file. Index.js. So there is our index.js file. Now the thing with Node is every time you run it, it's going to look for this file name Now I can call this anything I want, and a lot of people do call this either index or server or even app. So let's say if I want to change this to server, I would save it, and then I would have to rename this to server. Rename server. Now this package is going to run this initial file when it runs on the server. So let me exit out of this file right now because I'm going to install this package called npm install nodemon, and I'll explain why I want you guys to install this as well. So do that, and I exit out of this package because when I install this, it's going to edit the package for me. It's going to edit this package.json, and see it added a line for the dependency. So I wanted to make sure you guys exit out of this so that you're not editing it and it's giving you errors. So now that it added this dependency right here, let me show you what I'm going to do down here. I'm going to go to the script. I'm going to add a start and call this node server.js. Then I'll also have a dev. I'm going to call this nodemon server.js. Save that. Now the script that when it runs live is going to run start right here. But for our development purposes right now, I'm mainly going to use this line right here when I run things. I'm going to say npm run dev. So I'll show you guys right here. If I say npm run dev, it's going to execute this line right here and run our nodemon for us so that we can do development. Because when we're doing our HTTP server right here, we need to keep on, instead of exiting out of the server and starting it back up, this thing helps us maintain it and it does updates on it. I can also run npm start like that and it'll run the server, except if I make any code edits, it won't restart the server for me. So that's why a lot of people use this nodemon. So it's very useful. It's very easy to install too. And here's the dependency that it has for it. And then last thing, I'll just edit this author right here. I'll put coder Kai. And that's all we're going to mess with this. We're going to close it up. And then you'll see that it added this node module folder right here. And that is because I installed nodemon. If I install other stuff, it's going to add it to this folder. So you can ignore that folder for now. The only files we're working with right now are these two files right here. So now let's go to Node. And if you go to the About page right here, it has this little snippet of code. And what you can do is you can copy this, but I will go line by line and I'll tell you exactly what it's doing. Except I'm going to create a better HTTP server right now and go into depth on it, and we will create our live website. So the first thing you see that it says is const HTTP equals require HTTP. And I really suggest you guys type it out with me right now because it helps you learn a lot when you're coding. Every time I code and I watch a tutorial, I don't do a lot of copy and paste. I always type it out because typing, it will help you memorize this. And you really need to memorize this line because it's going to be used multiple times. Here, I'm going to do a new const fs equals require. And guess what? It's called fs. This is a file system. So I'm going to use that line. And I'll keep the const hostname equals 127.0.0.1. That is the default for everything. Const port equals 3000. And then const server equals http.create server right here. It already has it for us. And in here, it has a request and a response. And it uses a arrow function. If you guys don't know what an arrow function is, I suggest learning arrow functions. Node is all about arrow functions. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just to console log our request right here. Request.url, just to show you guys that the server is running. So I actually don't need this for now. I was going to write out the whole code, but let me do it in a minute because I want to show you the server running first, and then we're going to create our whole web page right here. So let me do the server.listen, and we need the port, host name that we already declared up here, and then we have the arrow function. Let's end it. Then I'll just console log this as well. And I'll say, you got to do a backtick on this. say server is running at HTTP. We're going to do the host name and the port and backtick. You have to do this backtick if you're going to call variables in here, otherwise it won't work. And it's going to spit out the host name right here for that and the port for that. And then up here, I'll also add in the response dot status code equals 200. 200 means that everything is okay. It's the same as if I have an error, I can put status code error for 404. That means, you know, there's an error on the page. But we're sending back a 200 telling it that it's okay. And then response dot set header, give it the content type. And this is everything in that copy and paste. Make it an HTML file. And then last, response.end. Alright, so let's save this, and I am going to do npm run dev. So if you remember from our package.json right here, I have the dev right here. And so when I say npm run dev, it's going to execute this nodemon server.js so that we can do our development. So I'll show you how that runs. And here it is. It's saying server is running at, same thing right here, server is running at the host name and the port. So let's go to that right now. Here it is. You can either say localhost 3000, or you can do the, you know, one http://127.0.0.1. But look at how much typing that is, you know. Just do localhost. Okay, I didn't return anything, so let's do it right here. And we'll say hi. And UTF-8, I believe. So let's just see, when I edit this file and I saved it, look, nodemon just saved it and restarted the server for me. So if I didn't run nodemon, I would have to exit out of the server and rerun npm run, the run command again. And you know, it takes too much work, so that's why people use nodemon. It restarted it for me. Now if I refresh it, look at this, it outputted hi. So our server is running fine here. Now I can end the server. I can stop it by doing Control-C. So the server is stopped. See, if I go back here and refresh, you know, it can't be reached. Okay, so now let's add back this file system, because I'm going to use this file system to do our page here. And I'm going to add in right here, let file path equals __ dir name plus, so this dir name is a built-in class that's going to find the current directory name and append it for us. And I'm going to add in /public / index.html. So I'm setting this file up to retrieve a index.html file that I'm going to create in a minute. And this index.html file is going to be served to the server as our initial web page. So let's create that right now. I'm going to create a folder called public. And inside public, I'm going to have index.html. This is what's cool with Visual Studio Code. I can just click on that and look, it appends the HTML for me. So right here, you know, I'll just do a simple paragraph tag, and I'll say welcome. And you know what? Let me make the font size like really big. All right, save that. We can close it up. Now I'll go down to this line here, and I'm going to add in a switch. Request.url, and then I will do a case. Let's give it a about us, right? Like that. Then I will give the file path. Let's copy this right here. And I want that to go to about, to the about page. And then also remember to break this, guys. You want to break out of the line. Also down here, I would do a default. And then set the file path to equal the index page again. and break. You actually don't have to do the break on this last one, but I do it as a habit. And then down here, I would do file system read file path. It takes in an error and it returns the data. Arrow function. And then here we go. I'm going to return the response code. I'll return the header. And I will return right here the data. So let's end this like that. So what did I do here? If I call a path called about us, it's going to direct it to this about.html file. Otherwise, it will go to the home page pretty much, because this is our home page here. So I'm missing the about us page right now. Let me create that, about us. Oh no, it's just about.html. Let's do the same thing, HTML5. We can call this the about page. And I'll just say about us, ... Save that. If this is kind of hard for you guys to read, you can also just, you can format it a little bit better. I do this kind of compact coding so that it saves space, but this is also, it's just a little shorthand for like that, right there. So, I do it just to save space and I can read it pretty good. The new thing that we have is this file system. The file system will read from a HTML file and just output that for us. So let's run this server right now. npm run dev. Server is running. And then here we go. This is going to take us to the home page. If I click on that, see, it says welcome. Now if I put in the path as about us, see, it went to the about us page. So you see how that works? If I put in anything else, actually, it's just going to go home because of my switch statement right here. I'm only accepting two different URL paths. And down here, you see that it's spitting out all of this information because I'm console logging this request URL. I can comment that out, save it. And then also, if I want to run on a different port, you don't have to worry. You can change this to anything. Like I can make it 4,000 if I want, but 3,000 is default. So if I save that, I now have to go to 4,000. Watch, I'll run 3,000 here and see nothing happens. So I have to call 4,000 now. And see, it's running on port 4,000 now. So that's how that works. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to include my actual HTML web page that I created. If you watched my previous tutorial on how to create a Bootstrap web page, I'm going to use that same layout and put it into this public file here. And I'll call it in here and it'll look like an actual web page. So let me set that up right now. Alright, so what I did is I have this new index.html page, and here's the source code of it right here. This is my same Bootstrap 4 website tutorial that I created, and it's the same code from it. I made a little bit of changes to it and I'll show you guys right here, but you see it's just simple HTML Bootstrap code. See, I include these jQueries. Bootstrap includes CSS. So you can do all that in here. You can create like a CSS folder if you want. You can do, another JS file or an images file, Let me drag that out here. Move. So you can create all that. You can have your CSS files here and then just include it into your HTML. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm redirecting it to my GitHub. So it's calling all of these includes from my GitHub, along with the image files as well, just to make it easier for me. So it's just plain HTML like that. We have the index, and then I have the shop file as well. So here's the shop file, and all I did was just change those, redirections around. And so since I'm using that, I'm going to change this about us to shop and call this shop HTML. Otherwise, it's going to go to our index page. And I'll save that there. And now this will look like a full-on web page. Let's do our npm run dev again. And look, it's still running on port 4,000. So let's go back there. for 1,000. Now if I refresh that, look at this. So you can run a full-on website using this HTTP server and the file system. So see, it's pretty easy. But like I said, I'm just calling all of my files from my GitHub just to make it easy because I am running it locally. But if you were to include the files on here, let's say if you go here, you can change this to here, our style sheet, right? You can really just say, you know, like dot like that. If you put it in a dot, it means it's looking in the same directory, and then it goes to the CSS right here, and then it looks for style.css. And that's how it runs. So yeah, you see right here, it just works, you know, perfectly right here. See, everything's working like that. Scrolling down here. And this is just using Bootstrap, guys. So if you want to learn how to do Bootstrap programming, watch my tutorial on that. And this is really an introduction to Node right here on how to run Node, how to set up a web server, what you need to learn about package dependencies, how to set up this development to run a server. Node.js is such a great programming language to learn. And so in the next few tutorials that I'm going to talk about, I'll go over, you know, let's see, frameworks, because a lot of people use Node.js. They don't use it this way to run the server. They use different frameworks like React, you know, Angular, Express, and Express handlebars, and even TypeScript. So I think I'll do some tutorials on Node with React and Node with Express handlebars, and I'll show you guys also how to tie in together the database. I'll be using Mongo databases. And so at the end of these tutorials, you should know how to do a MERN stack. If you look up what a MERN stack stands for, it pretty much teaches you how to do everything. MERN stands for MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So that's using React. If I were to use Express handlebars, then it'll be the MERN stack. And stay tuned, guys. I will show you how to do everything. And at the end of these tutorials, you should know how to program in Node pretty well. That's it for this one. I hope you guys like this tutorial I'm doing, and sorry for being away for so long, but I am back now doing these tutorials, and I will keep it up. So please give this video a like and help me reach my 1,000 subscriber goals. I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.